My name is Andy, and this is the most magical podcast on earth. When I'm not on holiday at Walt Disney World, I'm planning a holiday to Disney. And when I'm not planning a holiday to Disney, I'm talking about Disney with other UK fans like me who make the trip to Orlando and the House of the Mouse. So if you too are daft for Donald, then this is the podcast for you. Or maybe you're the Disney novice, the fan who's currently thinking about or maybe planning your first ever trip to Walt Disney World, and you don't know the difference between Cinderella Castle and Windsor Castle. Well, then this really is the podcast for you. Every week, I'll be chatting to other Disney superfans from around the UK to share their memories, their magical times, and their top tips. And this week's guest, Bex, she's a bit of a foodie.
The food there is amazing as well. The fillet steak's amazing. The sushi's amazing.
Also going to be answering your Walt Disney World questions, getting you some more tips for your trip, and how Disney can help you educate your kids. Make sure you keep in touch with us as well. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at PodMagical. This is the most magical podcast on earth as part of the Secret Recordings Network. This is Andy. Hello to Sue, who has sent me a message looking to reschedule our holiday. But we've got quite a few months to decide when we want to go next year. When do you think we should go? What is the best time of year? We don't care about crowds anymore. I can see where you're coming from. I think it's going to be probably a very busy year next year, especially with the 50th. A lot of people are rescheduling trips. For me, this is just down to personal choice. Now, I have mentioned this before, that last week in October, that first week in November, when you get to do Halloween and Christmas. It's expensive. It's a cheaper time to go, but it can be expensive because you want to do both of the parties. So, that's another $200 each person on top of your normal tickets and hotel. But that's my favourite time of year to go. There is no quiet time, especially next year. I think, as I say, it's going to be a very busy year. For everything that we've gone through, I think just being at Walt Disney World, whenever, I don't think I would ever complain about crowds before. If I get whacked in the back of a leg by a stroller, do you know what? I don't care anymore. I just want to go to Walt Disney World. Marion has sent me a message as well. She's been binge watching Disney weddings on Disney Plus, haven't we all? Wants to know realistically how much it would cost to get married at Walt Disney World, and can you do it from the UK? Well, I'm a good person to answer this question, Marion, because I did get married at Walt Disney World, and it was one of the easiest things to do. We only had one guest. That was my mum, which made it easy. We arranged it really last minute. The hardest thing was getting the registrar, somebody to officiate the wedding. That was the hardest thing. And applying for your licence, which you can only do a few weeks before. But if you go to the Disney weddings, they've got a particular site. They are incredible. The service you get from Disney and from Walt Disney World, is next level. So you can imagine the way that they organise weddings, and you can have it as small or as large as you want. I got married at Conch Key, which is just by the lake in the Grand Floridian. So we had the castle and the monorail in the background over there. And then we had a park session. So you can actually go into the park. You can book an extra park session if you want photographs in front of the castle where the park is completely empty. You get it to yourself for an hour. So you can do that. Your wedding can be as cheap or as expensive, as small or as large as you like, if you've got the dollar. So yes, you can get married at Walt Disney World. And even if you just want to go and have a look and make up your own dream wedding, just go onto the website and have a look. Any questions? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are at PodMagical, here every Friday with a new podcast to answer them. And here every Friday with a brand new guest. And this week, it's Beck. So tell me, Beck, what is it that you love about Walt Disney World?
Oh, crazy question. Okay, I love the magic, which I know is probably a really, really common answer for a lot of people. But as soon as I drive through the gates, I feel like I leave the real world behind and all my worries behind. The magic is what I love about it. I remember convincing my 40-year-old cousin to go to Disney, and her husband, who really wasn't a huge fan, and went reluctantly. But when she sent me photos of their trip, her husband was wearing Minnie ears and skipping down Main Street. So
that's what you want, yeah.
Yeah, everyone was totally shocked because it's totally out of character for him, but even the magic got him. So, that's how powerful it is.
Oh, I love that. I love when you see pictures of like blokes that you would think are 25 stone builders full of tattoos and bald heads, and they go, I don't want to go, I'm only going to get the Mrs. Quat. And then, you see all those pictures of them in Minnie Mouse ears stood in front of the castles. Brilliant.
Exactly. I love that. I love seeing that.
So the first time you went, when was it?
I was about 5, so I was a typical Disney-loving little girl. And even that small, I can still remember parts of the holiday and when my parents even first told me that we were going. So it was like a dream come true for me then, and I've been hooked ever since. So,
so how many times have you been?
About 7 or 8. 8.
You're at that point now where you've actually forgotten.
Yeah, I've stopped counting now at this point.
Yeah, I don't know how many times. So out of all the times you've been, have you got one particular favourite memory?
I have lots of pinch me moments. So, I mean, like the last time I went, we were stood on top of the paddlefish boat in Disney Springs, live music in the background, a glass of champagne in my hand, just kind of looking over thinking, wow, or watching the fireworks at the balcony at California Grill. But probably one of my favourite magic moments was from a cast member who was emptying the bins in Magic Kingdom, and of course I was rocking my Minnie ears, and the cast member stood up straight and pointed at me and was like, the boss's wife, quick, look busy. Obviously referring to me as Minnie Mouse, and it really made my whole holiday. Everyone obviously has their own magical moments, and that really is what makes Disney so special, but that is one of my favourite memories that I will always remember.
Isn't that strange? Just the slightest little thing like that. And that's the one thing that's stuck in your mind forever.
Absolutely. It's like the small magic moments. And when I'm ever telling anybody that hasn't been to Disney World, I always pull out that story, because I think to myself, that cast member, he was just emptying the bins, He could have just done it with a smile and that would have been lovely. But like going the extra mile, all those magic moments, that's what makes Disney so special for me.
Let's talk about some of your favourite things then. Do you have a favourite park?
I don't. It depends what mood I'm in. I love, obviously, Magic Kingdom. That's my first go-to park when I get there. But I really love Epcot. I really do. I love Epcot. It depends what mood I'm in. I can't choose a favourite. It's like choosing a favourite child.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, people say, it's like choosing a favourite child, but most people have got a favourite child.
Yeah.
They just don't tell them. What about favourite attraction then?
I love Happily Ever After. And to be honest, I love the fireworks. I loved Wishes when that was in as well. I just think the fireworks at Magic Kingdom, I think it sums perfectly, that goosebump feeling that Disney does so well. With the projections, the fireworks, the music, the flying Tinkerbell. I just think, what more could you want? It really sums it up for me.
So do you stay on property when you go, or do you prefer to stay off-site?
I love to stay on property. I'm a big fan of staying on property. I really just think it gets you in the midst of the magic, and you can utilise your time better because you're like right in the middle of it. I've stayed in a variety of different resorts. I really love the beach of the Yacht Club or the Grand Floridian. And if you book it with the free dining offer, then, it becomes more doable. If I'm going with my boyfriend, then, we kind of like to stay in the slightly more luxurious hotels just while we're doing it that way. But so they're my top kind of choices. But anywhere on property really is fantastic. And especially now with the Skyliner, making it really quick to get to the parks. I just think, when you're on property, just the magic doesn't really end. And like I say, you can utilise your time a lot better. And
if you've had the dining plan free for a few times, so you must have pretty much eaten your way around Walt Disney World.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite things as well.
Eating.
I'm such a foodie. I love the food there as well. So a lot of people have this conception where they think the food's just burger and chips, and they couldn't be more wrong. I'm honestly blown away all the time by the quality of the food at Disney, and the variety as well, and the types of restaurants. I love the signature restaurants. My favourite one would probably be California Grill, probably. Just for the experience of it, because you can go on the balcony, they pump the music in, and when you're stood there with a glass of wine looking down on Magic Kingdom,
watching the fireworks,
and you've only got like a small group of people around you. It's not really super crowded or anything. I think it's just so special. It's a real kind of must-do, I think, for me. But the food there is amazing as well. The fillet steak's amazing. The sushi's amazing. So it really is a special one. If you have to only go to one signature, I'd say go to that one just for the whole experience.
Have you ever done the brunch at California Grill?
I haven't. I've only done dinner.
I've got my eye on doing the brunch. It looks really good. Yeah.
Thing is, if you go for brunch, and as long as you've eaten that day and have your receipt, you can still watch the fireworks later.
You can come back,
and go back if you want to. But I guess I've always timed it to try and be there for the fireworks. But yeah, brunch sounds great.
What about snacks? Have you got a favourite Walt Disney World snack?
I actually really love the cinnamon rolls from Gaston's cinnamon rolls.
Oh, right, yeah. The ones that are covered with the icing.
I love that, and you can get extra icing.
Ask for extra icing. Good tip.
Yeah, exactly. Top tip. But Yeah, I can't. It depends what mood I'm in, because you can get savoury snacks and the cheeseburger pods at Satu'li Canteen. Oh, amazing.
Oh, yeah, but you have to ask for those now because they're not on the menu.
Really?
Yeah, I think they might be on the kids' menu, but you can still get an adult portion. How would you describe the cheeseburger pods at Satu'li Canteen if nobody's ever had them or even heard of them?
I mean, I'm sure you must have heard this said before, but it tastes like a McDonald's cheeseburger.
Yeah, but in a bao bun.
In a bao bun, yes!
That's the best way to describe it.
That sounds gross, but it's actually incredible. They're amazing.
So, having been 8 times, you must be the queen of planning.
Yes, wow.
So, when it comes to deciding when you're going to go, where you're going to stay, when you're going to book, how do you decide that?
I definitely go around the offers, and because I'm not travelling with children and I just go with my boyfriend or with my mom or with family, we don't have the worries of the school holidays. I always find May's a really good time to go, just in terms of the holidays and how busy the parks are. I think that's a really nice time with the weather as well. When I'm actually planning a holiday, I love to get the free dining offer. I think that really is such a great deal, and I'm all about the spreadsheets, colour coding, booking everything as soon as you get the chance. I really would recommend when you're staying on property and you have the whole package and you get that day that you can book the dining and the day you can book the fast passes, when they're released, I really think it pays to be ready and to get the things booked. And some people think that it sounds like a nightmare planning that kind of that granular level, but it actually makes your trip so stress-free, because you can get it all done in advance. So when you're there, you can just enjoy it. You can get all the things you want to do at the top of your list, checked off. And top tip for planning, my top tip is, when you're scheduling each day, don't forget to schedule some downtime, some pool days in between, because the parks, obviously, they're full on days, and, don't forget it's a holiday. So allow yourself time to relax in between. But I think, if you plan ahead, then it makes your holiday far more enjoyable when you're there.
Especially if you're going just as a couple, it's like I say, it's you and your boyfriend. You've kind of probably got more restaurants to book in.
Oh my God, yes.
And planning around
love
that.
It. And I think I love that about Disney as well. People think, you should only go when you've got like children or family or going with children. But, that's really not the case. We both love it for many different reasons. And we do it in a slower pace, and we might have cocktails and go to Trader Sam's or, have a nice dinner. And we really do it as a slower pace and a kind of a more, luxury experience whilst we don't have children.
I want to talk more actually about Trader Sam's if anybody's not been. We'll talk about that very soon. Bex is this week's podcast guest. Don't forget, you can keep up with all the latest news from Walt Disney World if you check out Disney Parks online. They're the one place to go for the official word from Walt Disney and the Disney Company about when things start to get back to normal. This week I thought, though, I'd like to have a look at how Disney can help you educate the kids. There's been a lot of discussion online over the last few weeks. Suddenly you've got the kids at home, you're trying to keep them entertained and trying to keep their education up, but can you use Disney to do this? There's been quite a lot of discussion, some good ideas that have come up about this over on YouTube. Disney have actually put quite a few things on how to draw Mickey Mouse and some of the other characters. Also on YouTube, look out for Walt Disney Imagineering. Now, they have got their own YouTube series called Imagineering in a Box, which talks about how they design the parks and how they come up with attractions. Quite interesting, quite educational, quite informative for kids, and I think for adults as well. It's actually designed for kids, but I found it quite interesting too. There's recipes online if you want to do a little bit of a cookery class and learn to cook some of your favourite Walt Disney World treats that you have while you're over there. Josh Gad, who is of course the voice of Olaf and was in the Beauty and the Beast live series, he's reading Disney stories and some classic stories on his Instagram every evening. Meanwhile, if you've got Disney Plus, if you've been binge watching, you've gone through every cartoon and you've watched Frozen about 50,000 times, well, there's some classic things, from Winnie the Pooh to The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. There's some classic stories on Disney Plus, along with the National Geographic series. There's loads of National Geographic stuff. So if you're into science and nature, you want to learn more about apes and wildlife, there's lots of series on there as well. There's also a series called Brain Games. That's on Disney Plus. And even the Imagineering series, it's a documentary about how the parks grew really from a thought. That's intended for adults, but I think for older kids, I think that's quite interesting as well. So if you are looking at ways to keep the kids entertained, meanwhile teaching them a little bit of a thing, there's plenty of stuff that you can use Disney for. And if you've got any good ideas or anything that you found yourself, do get in touch. We can share them on the podcast. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are at PodMagical. with this week's guest, Bex, who likes to do just her and her boyfriend. It's a grown-up trip. Let's talk about Trader Sam's, because I think we've mentioned Trader Sam's on here before. Now, this is a bar at the Polynesian. It's quite hard to find because it's just like one wooden door. Yeah. How would you describe Trader Sam? It's
like almost a little bit like a tiki room kind of vibe, kind of feel. Interactive, so the cocktails are really fun, and the cast members there are really fun. Depending on what cocktail you get, different things happen in the room, and different songs might happen depending on what you order. You can't book in advance there, but it's really worth trying to get in there because it's super fun.
Anything else as a couple that you think that's quite a good thing for couples only at Walt Disney World?
Like I say, the signature restaurants. I mean, I can't wait to try the new bar at Grand Floridian.
The Enchanted Rose?
Enchanted Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to try there. But I really, with the signature restaurants, obviously it does take up more time, so you have to go with that in mind if you're a couple that kind of likes to have some cocktails and be kind of eating the signature places. It does take up more time, so it is a slower pace holiday, but all the signature restaurants have a different feel to them. They're different style of food, and STK is really good in Disney Springs for couples. That's kind of a bit of like a clubby restaurant vibe. Yeah. So there's so much for if you're just with your other half, or even if you're with your some friends, and you can make it a more adult trip, and there's loads of stuff that you can do for that.
What about outside Disney? Do you venture outside the bubble, or do you prefer just to stay on Disney?
I do venture outside, but to go
it's
to the malls...
It's okay, you can say. It's all right. You're among friends.
Yeah, don't cut me off. I do Character Warehouse, so that's Disney related again, at the malls. But I usually do go to Universal Studios. However, the last time, aside from Harry Potter, I was actually really disappointed. It felt a bit tired and a little bit unloved. I don't want to diss it at all and be pro Disney, but that's how I felt. And then our next trip that we've got booked, where we don't really plan to leave Disney property, we feel like we've got everything we want there. So yeah,
I suppose if you are going to Disney quite a lot, if you're going every year, doing Universal every other year is not necessarily a bad thing.
Exactly, yeah. And if you feel like you break it up. I mean, the problem is, well, it's not a problem at all for me now, but because you've got Disney Springs, if you don't want to do a park day, there isn't that need to go outside of Disney property, because you have got, the cinema at Disney Springs, and it's a different vibe there. You can go to the shops, and so it feels like you're kind of leaving even though you're not leaving. It's that extra thing that it offers now that it's Disney Springs is so great. So I don't feel like if I don't leave the Disney property, I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I've got it all covered.
You mentioned before next time we go. When is that? Have you planned that yet?
Oh, yes. Well, we're meant to be going in May, but I don't know if we're still going to be allowed sending all the good vibes out there for that. Yeah. So we don't know, but we might have to reschedule it. So,
well, hopefully everything's going to be okay for you.
Yes, hope so. Keep your fingers crossed.
Stay safe, stay well, and have a magical day.
And you. Thank you.
If you'd like to join me one week on the podcast to share your memories, tell me about your favourite attractions the first time you went. You don't need a studio. You don't need to come into the studio. You just do it from the comfort of your own home. If you'd like to be a podcast guest, get in touch. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we are at PodMagical. Don't forget, we've got a brand new guest. So brand new stories, brand new memories every Friday. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Hit that subscribe button. Share it as well. Tell your friends, maybe people who are thinking about, currently planning going to Walt Disney World, and they're looking for all the tips and recommendations. We got a lot of podcasts to go through with lots of top tips every week, including the top tip of the week. This week's top tip of the week is take stuff to decorate your window if you're staying in a Disney hotel. You might have seen this actually if you're walking around Disney hotels. Last time I stayed at French Quarter, it seemed to be like every window was decorated. It was probably because it was Halloween and then Christmas, so a lot of people went for that. But I think it's a great idea just to decorate your window anyway. Keep the kids busy on the first night, keep them awake for a bit longer so they can kind of get into the time difference. Also, the week before you go, they can make stuff that'll keep them busy, keep the excitement level going. And even better than that, when you've decorated your window in your hotel room after a long park day, especially the first couple of days, places like Caribbean Beach, they're massive. And like, oh, is this our block? Was this our window? If you put something in your window that you can recognise it as yours, I mean, don't put your name in it and things like that, but if you've put a particular picture or something in your window to know it's yours, it's going to make it easier for you to find your hotel room at the end of the day. If you've got any tips of your own, or if you want to be a podcast guest, give me a shout. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we are at Podmagical. And until next time, please stand clear of the doors.